Have you ever felt like making friends is just harder for you than it seems to be for everyone else? Well, this explainer is for you. And we're not talking about a flaw here. We're talking about a completely different and, honestly, a pretty misunderstood psychological profile. Let's just get right to it, because this is a feeling a lot of us have but almost never say out loud. That little nagging thought that maybe something's just wrong with you. But what if that entire feeling is based on a total misunderstanding of how your mind is actually wired? Society loves to slap on these simple, kind of negative labels, but behind every single one of them is a much deeper psychological truth. So what the world might see as awkward is really just your preference for depth. What looks antisocial is actually a deep need for authenticity. And what feels broken inside, that's really a sign of being incredibly aware. Okay, let's dive into the first big idea. This has nothing to do with lacking social skills. It's about having a fundamentally different need when it comes to people. You're just wired for depth. And honestly, that changes the whole game. This one is huge. You probably have a radar for insincerity that is just off the charts. You can sniff out gossip, manipulation, and just general fakeness from a mile away. And the more you get to know yourself, the lower your tolerance gets for all that noise. You just can't bring yourself to pretend. And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's the choice you're constantly making. It's not about rejecting people, it's about rejecting pretense. The peace you feel when you're by yourself is so much more valuable than the energy it takes to sit through a conversation that feels completely empty. You ever find yourself in a crowded room just feeling totally invisible? Yeah, that's because small talk just doesn't do anything for your brain. You want to get into the big stuff, ideas, purpose, dreams. All that surface level chit-chat just feels like a complete waste of your mental energy. This really gets to the core of it. See, it's not a preference, it's your wiring. You're not trying to be difficult or standoffish, you're just searching for a conversation that actually feels like a real connection. And let's be real, those are pretty rare. So it turns out there's a psychological term for this feeling, social incongruence. It's that feeling you might have had your whole life of being just a little out of sync, when your sense of humor or your interests just don't quite land with the people around you. Keeping your distance can feel a whole lot safer than trying to be understood and failing. Again. Now let's build on that. For you, being social isn't just some casual thing. It comes with a real mental and emotional price tag. Your brain is basically working overtime whenever you're around other people. If you get home from a party feeling like you've just run a marathon while everyone else is still going strong, there's a good reason. Your nervous system is probably more sensitive, so it's processing way more information. Every little change in tone, body language, emotions, it's like your brain is trying to run 10 different programs all at once. Of course you're tired. And this visual just shows it perfectly. For some people, being social charges them up. But for you, as you can see, it can drain your social battery fast. This is exactly why being alone isn't a luxury for you. It's an absolute necessity. You have to recharge. So on top of that massive energy drain, you've got the mental replay. Your mind is super active, which is awesome, but it also means you're analyzing and reanalyzing conversations long after they're over. It creates this constant low-level buzz of pressure that can make even a casual coffee feel like hard work. I mean, does this sound familiar? That endless loop of, did I say the right thing? Or, oh, how did that come across? That's not you being neurotic. That's the sign of a highly conscious, self-aware mind, just doing what it does best. And when you put all of this together, it leads to a very, very human fear, the fear of being judged. You really do want to connect, but that pressure to be witty and smart and charming all the time, it can make you freeze up. So you pull back, not because you don't care, but because it feels safer than risking embarrassment. Okay, so we've laid out all the challenges, but here's where we're going to flip the script. What if everything we've just talked about isn't a list of problems you need to fix? What if these are actually your superpowers in disguise? Let's really dig into that idea in this final section. We are going to reframe all these traits, not as social weaknesses, but as the very things that give you some powerful advantages in your life and your relationships. First off, your ability to just be alone and be okay with it, that is a superpower. People confuse independence with loneliness all the time, but they are not the same thing. You know how to keep yourself company, how to solve your own problems, how to be comfortable in your own head. That is a sign of incredible strength. And yep, there's a term for this too. It's called Low social dependency. All it means is that you don't need a crowd of people to tell you that you're okay. You get your validation from your own internal compass. And that doesn't make you cold. It makes you incredibly self-reliant. This is so key. Your caution didn't come from nowhere. It's a defense mechanism that you've learned. If you've been hurt before, your brain naturally gets more protective. So you watch, you observe, you take your time before you let people in. And yeah, that might mean you have fewer friends. But the ones who get through that filter, they are the real deal. Those friendships are built on a solid foundation of actual trust. So when you put it all together, the deep thinking, the sensitivity, the independence, it all combines to create something pretty amazing, a really rich and vibrant inner world. You notice things other people miss. You feel things on a deeper level. You think about things that others just skim over. And this, right here, is the ultimate payoff. It might take you longer. The path might feel a little lonelier sometimes. But the connections you do build are profound. They aren't disposable. They are built to last a lifetime, precisely because of the depth and the care that you bring to the table. If you take only one thing away from all of this, please let it be this. Your mind is not broken. It is not incorrect. It just works differently. You are wired for depth in a world that, a lot of the time, seems to celebrate the shallow. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. It is so easy to feel that pressure to have this big, sprawling social circle. But what if your way, your cautious, deep, authentic approach, is actually the best path to finding the connections that really, truly matter? What if those rare, amazing friendships are more than worth the wait?